On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Tacoma Pierce County and TV Tacoma, welcome to this forum for Tacoma City Council District 5. I'm Liz Kernitz-Thurlow, and I will be moderating. Tacoma has 5 geographic council districts, each of which elects a council representative, and people who live in that district get to vote in that election. We also have 3 at-large seats and a mayor, all of whom are chosen by all the voters of Tacoma. The general election is Tuesday, November 2nd. If you are not yet registered, you may register at the auditor's office through Election Day. The candidates for District 5 are Joe Bushnell and Ann Artman. Welcome. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
They have agreed to our ground rules, which, among other things, say that they will not discuss each other in their answers. Do you both agree?
Yes.
Candidates will have 2 minutes for opening statements, whatever I give them for questions, and 1 minute for closing statements. Our timekeeper is Susan Eidenschink. She will signal you when you have 1 minute remaining, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and when it is time to stop, at which time you may finish a short sentence. In ballot order, Joe Bushnell will give the first opening statement. After that, the order will rotate with each question. Your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much for putting this on, and for TV Tacoma and League of Women Voters to having us today. I think it's super important to get the word out about some fantastic candidates that are trying to represent District 5. My name is Joe Bushnell, and I'm running for Tacoma City Council District 5. And if you're not familiar with the area, it is south of 56th Street all the way out to McKinley to the city limits. I was born and raised in Tacoma. I'm a graduate of Stadium High School. I've spent over a decade in the Marine Corps. And my story is Tacoma's story. My mother is a refugee from the Khmer Rouge genocide back in the 80s, and she came to the United States with nothing but the shirt on her back. As a Cambodian American, there's been such a rise in violence against Asian Americans that has been very appalling to me. And I want to point out that one of the Cambodian temples was recently in the news for a vicious attack. And these attacks are not new for our community and certainly should not be normalized. I wanted to make a statement on that. And we need to end this violence against our communities of color and our Asian American community. My big issues for our community I'd like to work on the city council is housing affordability, homelessness, public safety, and also bringing good jobs to our community. We are at a precipice in our city's history, and we can either take advantage of the changes that are coming and make it work for our city, or we can look like Seattle in 20 years, which I do not want to happen. I want Tacoma to be Tacoma, and I want us to keep our essence, but also grow and plan that growth effectively and with a lot of thought. I appreciate your time, and thank you. My name is Joe Bushnell.
Thank you. Ann Artman.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you inviting us today to this forum, and I appreciate also the League of Women's Voters. And this is so important platform for us because often we do knock on doors, and most often is that people are not home. So this gives us an opportunity to be able to introduce ourselves to the community and to say hello, and that we look forward to meeting you. I am also a long-term resident of Tacoma. I have lived here since 1962, but I have lived in the South End area for the last 38 years, where I raised my son, who now teaches in the Tacoma School District. And so my concerns are basically homelessness, behavioral health, social justice, and most importantly is that talking to the community, I have learned that there's so many folks in the community that are faced with safety issues and concerns. And there is a real need for us to be able to create a relationship with the police department where we can really seriously address some of the concerns that are out there. But most important with me is that I am very passionate about this area. I have worked in this area for the last 40 years, and I have seen things change. We're at a critical point now to where the city needs somebody with experience in homelessness and behavioral health and substance misuse, as well as social injustice and affordable housing. I have a recovery center in Tacoma that I've had for the last 7 years, work with Pierce County, the city, and at the state level, and being able to reduce and decrease some of the concerns that we have. And so I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone. I look forward to, as I tell everyone at the doors, is that I look forward to being your city council in the next upcoming 4 years. And not just that, is that I want to commit at least 8 years to my community and be able to lay a foundation and really do a lot for our community. And thank you very much. And my name is Ann Artman. Appreciate you having me here.
Thank you. Thank you both. Now we move to questions. Ann Artman will answer the first question first. And because we rotate the order of answering, whenever you answer second, be ready to answer first the next time. What is the most pressing issue for District 5, and how do you plan to address it? And warning, the next question will be the same, but for the whole city. So 60 seconds.
The most pressing concerns for the 5th district is two things. One is homelessness, because it's growing and having an effect on them, and it's actually scaring folks. The other is safety concerns. There are a lot of crime that are in our area when it comes to property crime, as well as breaking into homes, cars being stolen. But not just that, is that there's a level of fear in our community where folks are just really scared of walking out the door. The other concern I've noticed too is our infrastructure. There are a lot of things that are going on in the South End to where folks feel as though they've been forgotten. And I have promised them is I want to be an advocate for them. But the two things that are most important I have to express is that truly it's homelessness and also it's safety concerns as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Bushnell.
Thank you for the question. Homelessness and safety are very important, and it's prime top of mind for many of the residents in District 5. For dealing with homelessness and helping folks out on the street, I believe in a housing first solutions. That means expanding tiny homes, either purchasing a hotel, expanding shelter spaces, so that way we can get folks off of the streets, out of our parks, out of the forests, and into services that they need to battle whatever issues they might be having, whether it's substance abuse or mental health issues. Services being able to get to them consistently will be able to help support them and move them on to transitional housing and becoming productive members of society. Public safety is of prime concern. I don't always feel safe walking around in my own neighborhood. I know that's very true in many other residents in our area. And we need some police transformation, and we need to also hire and bring on good officers from our own community to continue to enforce the laws that are on the books and making sure that people are feeling safe in their home, and also bringing more community resource officers to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Joe Bushnell's first. What is the most pressing issue for Tacoma, and how do you plan to address it?
I think one of the biggest issues for Tacoma itself is climate change. As a young man, I am very, very frightened about the future for my potential children and grandchildren. And I think we need to take decisive action at the city council level, and as well as lobbying at our state level in order to make sure that we're addressing climate change, and because it's a looming disaster waiting to happen, and it is happening. And you can look to this past summer to see those record heat levels, and unfortunately that would not have happened in the Pacific Northwest, physically impossible if not for climate change. I would also say the other pressing matter is housing affordability. People are getting priced out of their homes, and people that have lived here their entire life, like myself included, cannot even afford to continue to live in our city. And we need to make some drastic and decisive actions in order to bring more affordable housing online and increase availability of housing across the board. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ann Artman.
Thank you. Once again, I'm going to address the concern with homelessness. And the reason why is that the city of Tacoma gave me the first tiny home contract back in 2019 when folks were in the People's Park, and it had caused a lot of concerns. And so what I learned from that experience is that I was given 25 homes. And so what we did is that we provided supportive services for them. And so I base my statements on experience and working with homeless folks and also with folks not being able to pay for affordable housing. And so one of the things I'd like to do is bring into the city council, yes, I do support the model, I support the hotel model, but also too, from my experience, I really support supportive housing with being able to address people's needs and concerns. The other thing too is that we have a prevention program where we're able to actually, what I say to folks is stop the bleeding, increase those prevention programs, teach people how to not just keep their homes, but maintain them as far as getting them new homes. And so I'm going to stick with that today, is that all over the city is that one of the greatest concerns that we see that's growing is homelessness, and it's impacting everyone, especially the young individuals. I'm seeing children out there that are homeless at the age of 5 years old. And so that's my number one concern right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, you get to answer the next one first, and we're staying on the same subject because homelessness is a huge issue. How will you help Tacoma build more housing, find housing solutions for homeless people, get all people, students, elderly, and mentally ill, just plain out of luck, the help, services, and protection they need? And if you could include whether or not you support Home in Tacoma, and you have 90 seconds to do all this.
Before I start, I want to mention, as far as behavioral health, is that I have a master's degree in behavioral health, and I'm very familiar with some of the concerns out there on the streets that's going on in our community. And so what I think part of our problem with affordable housing is that we lack the supply. And so we have developers that are building homes in Seattle and not bringing the homes here because they're not affordable, and so folks are not going to buy them. So we, the city, need to invest in affordable housing. And also too is that when we say that they're going to be 20% affordable housing, let's really work with developers to where it is 20% of the housing is affordable housing. Also too is that I want to comment on the Home in Tacoma. It is one of those concerns that folks have because they hear the word zoning. And so I am proud of the city for taking the initiative with an idea. And so Home in Tacoma, I support it. With this, though, is that we bring the community in and they're actively engaged in the process, and they can share their concerns, and we can tweak this project to where it really fits everyone's needs. And so, yes, and your question is I do support it. As well as that, also too, one of the concerns when it comes to affordable housing is that we don't have enough, folks don't have enough money to pay for affordable housing because of the minimum wage. I would like to see our minimum wage increased and programs out there to assist folks in getting into these affordable housing and being able to maintain them. It's sad that part of our American culture is that to be able to be a homeowner. And I believe that everyone in Tacoma who has that desire to be a homeowner should have that, and also too with the resources to be able to achieve that goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Bushnell.
Thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, housing first is the best approach in bringing homeless folks off the street and into services they need to battle whatever issues they're having. We do not have the supply of affordable housing in order to bring up individuals as well. I am supportive of the Home in Tacoma project. I do have some concerns with it. That there is a lack of preservation and increase of green spaces. I understand that increasing density into areas impacts the quality of life of individuals in those locations. I would like to see built into the Home in Tacoma plan green spaces and how they're going to be expanded, especially when we increase density in our areas. I believe also that the multifamily tax exemption, which the city is currently using, is an economic development tool. And I think having that 20% affordable housing portion is nice, but we need to come up with a new solution to bring actual real affordable housing and not just the 20% level. I'd like to see 50%, 60%, even entire housing projects that are affordable. I'd like to work with the Tacoma Housing Authority, Habitat for Humanity, and other groups in order to bring real affordable housing online across the board. And again, we need to increase supply. Our city is growing. People are not just coming from Seattle. People are not just coming from California. They're coming from all over the country to live in our beautiful city. We can't just say that it rains here all the time and people are not going to show up, because that's not working anymore. They're here and they're here to stay because they love the city just like we do. And so we need to find a place for them to afford a home, and we need to make sure we're taking bold and decisive action to increase our density and appropriately, and having those community conversations so that we do have great quality of life and we have a lot of good folks coming and being a part of the community. Thank you.
Thank you both for all those great things you've just said. 1 minute. Tacoma recently cleaned up a homeless camp on Yakima Avenue. Should we be doing that when there aren't places or services for everyone there to go? And what is the right answer to this complicated question? Joe Bushnell.
That is a very complicated question. I'm not a big fan of the sweeps, and part of the reason is that you're taking folks and pushing them off to other locations. You're not solving the problem. You're not solving the root causes of what's getting them there in the first place. And a lot of those folks, if their things are thrown away, that's their personal possessions, and they have little to nothing already. And so I'm very concerned that they don't have places to store their own items. If they've been thrown out of their house, where are they going to be able to store their documents in order to find work? If it's raining all the time, it's a very complicated situation. And I understand that there are, businesses, residents, and others that are also utilizing those public spaces like sidewalks in order to safely traverse our city. And so we need to increase the amount of hardened shelters for these folks to stay in. I don't think it's humane for them to be out on the street in these tents. And I don't think it's humane for our citizens walking around to have to, step over somebody that might be sleeping in a foyer in front of a business.
Thank you. Ann Artman.
Thank you. Those folks that were on Yakima Avenue were actually individuals that I have been working with for the last few years. And they had been there since 2020. And I didn't like the approach that was taken because they were given, I think, about 3 weeks notice to move. And the problem that we had, providers and I, that had spoke with each other and trying to figure out some way to solve the problem. And the problem was, where are they going? Because that just simply we're told that you're leaving on the 22nd of September and there's nowhere to go. And so we did work together to try and find homes for them. And so with the city is that I wish that they would have given them, first of all, more notice to the providers instead of finding out about it through the news, so that we could actually work with them and help them. There are a few folks that were taken in by churches because the provider partnerships that we have. But I do agree is that there should have been a better solution in that. And number one is to be able to provide a solution for them and a direction. And we have plenty of time for that. And so I did not approve of the way that they went about having them leave the area. But they were, a few of them were taken care of and a few were still working with them. So I would like to see us to come up with better solutions instead of waiting for 2 years for folks as they sat there on those sidewalks in the tents. So, thank you.
Thank you. 90 seconds is not a lot of time, but racism. This connects to housing, policing, jobs, and everyday life. How do you think we're doing in dealing with it? And what do you propose to help improve and equalize conditions for all?
Thank you. I believe that we're still in the stages of talking about it. And actually that is a good start, but it's not the answer to everything. As far as racism is concerned, is that I've seen it in housing where folks could not get housed because of their race. And personally, nobody said that that's not the reason why we're not going to house you, but I have seen it time and time again. Folks that are reentering from prison sentences where they've come out and they want to be accepted into homes cannot get jobs. And so racism is, it's there in our city, and I know that we are taking steps to improve it. But I would like to be on the city council to be able to really truly have those conversations with the council and also with the community as well, to where we can truly move to where people do have the right to live in homes that they want to live in areas they want to live, and have jobs that are secure and that they're being treated fairly. For right now, I'm going to say is that when it comes to racism in our city, is that we simply at this point just scratched the surface. But when I say that is I'm hearing more conversations of folks of all nationalities that truly want to make a change and see a difference. And that I am proud. I'm having more conversations with folks. I'm more comfortable with it. And I say, let's really pull the community together. Let's become engaged and really work on those concerns. And not just in the Black community, but the BIPOC community as well, and everyone, because it is affected everyone. And that includes people who are socially, economically disadvantaged, who don't have those same opportunities and chances that we have. And so I'd like for it to be sort of a policy that we create that impacts everybody in our community and every district in our community. So, thank you.
Thank you. Joe Bushnell.
Thank you for the question. It's sad to say that racism is alive and well in Tacoma, and it's despicable. The Asian American community has been attacked constantly for years, and it's not until things have been filmed that folks are paying attention. Just recently, a 70-year-old woman was attacked at our Buddhist temple on Portland Avenue. I know the other Buddhist temple that my family frequents on McKinley is often the target of harassment, often the target of violence, threats of arson. I will not stand for it. The AAPI community is not going to be silent any longer. We are here to make changes, and I am here to be on the city council to make those changes. We need not just to talk about racism, we need to be actively anti-racist. I support many of the programs that the city is already underway, systems transformation and an anti-racist agenda. So we seek out and destroy any hints of racism that are a part of our system. We need to stand up together as a BIPOC community and the allies to stamp out racism wherever it rears its ugly head. And I'm here I will be the first Cambodian American on Tacoma City Council. There is no Asian American voices on the city council currently. And we have a huge Asian American population in Tacoma: Korean, Filipino, Cambodian, Vietnamese. We need representation and we need our voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you. The climate crisis. How can and should Tacoma help combat climate change? What will you do and how? And if you can, include how we should be working with the Port of Tacoma, and try to do it in a minute, please. Joe Bushnell.
Thank you. Climate change is real. Climate change is impacting us now, and climate change is going to impact our future. And we need to do a better job as a city to build the systems of that transformation into a green economy. I support the proposal to turning the South Tacoma Manufacturing Industrial Center into an economic green zone. I support the Tide Flats regulations in order to reduce and remove fossil fuels from our fuel mix here in the city. And we also need to transition into a greener economy. I support bringing in hydrogen fuel through our clean electric dams electricity in order to transition and bring better fuel systems to our community. Currently, we rely too much on natural gas. And I think that there's opportunity to change that into a hydrogen natural gas mix as we transition into a fully hydrogen mix in the future. There's a lot that we need to do to shore up we have vast shoreline, and we need to make sure that all of our areas are climate resilient going into the future, and that's going to include a lot of infrastructure investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann Artman.
Thank you. Back in June, we saw our weather reach temperature of 113 degrees, and that was definitely a wake-up call to everyone. I have to admit is that when I first started this campaign in February, is that I did not know as much about our climate as I did before. And so today I have a totally different viewpoint when it comes to our climate. I think we need to, first of all, start with our community by seriously bringing an awareness to our community about what we need to do. Along with that is that we need to start making changes, and the changes to start as we're building homes. We've been talking about affordable homes. It's time that when we talk about affordable homes that we have the ability to put in there the infrastructure into homes where you can have electric cars and make those more affordable. It starts with the everyday person. And I absolutely do support the interim Tide Flats regulations. We have the fossil fuels down there. And so at this point is that we've agreed that we're not going to expand on those. So while we're agreeing to not expand on those, at the same time is that it's time to create those renewable energies. You know, Grace Harbor just down the road has been creating biodiesel for the last 10 years, and they're 10 years ahead of us. I like to go to our neighbors and say, how do we do this? We know how to do it, but we simply, truly, honestly have to make a commitment through the city council is that our city is going to go green and electric when it comes to cars. But first of all, seriously, an awareness to our community as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't really have time for another question, but I'm going to put one in and give you 30 seconds to answer it. And Ann Artman will be first. COVID has changed many things. People are ill, people are dying, it continues. Work, school, Zoom, webinars. Are there any changes which have resulted from this which you think are good? What have we learned? 30 seconds.
What we've learned is that, the question before this was about the climate. We have learned that we can actually work from home and be very productive. And so I would like to see maybe possibly some of us working from home where we can cut down on our carbon use that we have. And so that is the one thing that's become an awareness. There's so many other things that are important that we've learned. We've learned on how to work together, how to live together, how to be safe together. But most important is that let's look on maybe reducing some of our carbon emissions by working from home, because we've realized that it is doable. And with these Zoom groups, it has become very successful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of opportunity working from home, reducing the carbon emissions. I also think it's shown the stress and fractures in our community along many lines, especially in our health and wellness, where we need to shore up a lot of our outreach. We also stresses in our hospital system. So I think it's given us an opportunity to learn about where our weaknesses are and where we can shore up a lot of our problems. COVID-19 has certainly been a terrible pandemic, and many people have lost their lives. And we need to learn from it, and we need to do better going into the future, and making sure that any policies that we implement in the future have it in mind as we work with the community to make things better for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Now you each have up to 1 minute for a closing statement. They'll be in reverse ballot order, so we begin with Ann Artman.
Thank you. I appreciate being here today. As I said earlier, is that our city right now is in a critical stage, a crisis stage. And I bring to the City Council is a level of expertise that directly deals with some of our concerns, which is homelessness and behavioral health, and some of the other issues that we have as far as affordable housing, and knowledge of climate control as well, and the changes that we need to make there. I have been in the community, spoke to as many folks as I can, and for those of you that I haven't, I want you to know is that I want to be the advocate for Tacoma City Council District Number 5. And another reason why is because of my compassion I have for our city. I have lived here for 40 years and seen changes in different areas that are affecting everyone, that I want to be a part of that change. This change needs to happen. And I've seen homelessness where it has not just decreased, but it's grown and it's growing. There are programs out there that I have worked with that are successful, that are proven that they work. They do work with supportive services, but most important is that we have to get people off the streets. It's going to provide safety for the community as well. I don't often use the word housing first, but I do use the word is that we've got to get people housed and get them off the streets and provide a safe community for everyone. I appreciate being here today, and thank you. I look forward to meeting you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Joe Bushnell, your closing statement, please.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with the community, and you're hosting this event. My name is Joe Bushnell, and I really believe that there is a lot of change that is going on in our community that we need to tackle. I believe I have the experience. Not only have I been in the Marine Corps for over a decade, not only have I been the board chair of the South Tacoma Neighborhood Council, not only have I been a part of the Tacoma Public Utility Board, and not only have I been born and raised in this city, I love this city, and many of our community members love this city as well. And we're terrified of what's been happening for the last few years. And we need to come together as a community and come up with solutions to deal with housing our most vulnerable populations, bringing good, affordable housing for our population at large, bringing good jobs to our community so folks don't have to travel so far in order to go find good work, and also making sure that it's safe for our children to play out in their yards, in the parks, in the streets, and making sure that when we call the police department, that they show up and have good response times. I love this city, and I really hope I can earn your vote. My name is Joe Bushnell. Thank you so much.
Thank you both for being with us and answering our questions. Very, very interesting. This forum and the others for all the local offices, which will be on our ballot, may be viewed on TV Tacoma or on the League's website until Election Day. Ann Artman and Joe Bushnell are candidates for Tacoma's 5th Council District. Thank you for being here, both of you. Thank you for watching. Remember, the general election is November 2nd, and please don't forget to vote.